A can of soup can sit safely in a pantry for years at a time. That shelf stability comes from a specific process worth understanding before your next bowl. Canning uses heat and sealing to eliminate bacteria and expend shelf life for years. What's really inside canned soup? This is Grocery Science. Today, we look at what is really inside canned soup. A single serving of canned soup can contain 600 to 900 milligrams of sodium. 2 cans can look nearly identical while carrying very different sodium totals. By the end of this video, you will read that soup label very differently. Canned soup can absolutely fit a healthy diet. It depends heavily on the sodium level. Sodium is added to canned soup for flavor, preservation, and consistent taste across batches.
The canning process and later reheating can both reduce perceived flavor intensity over time.
Manufacturers often compensate for that flavor loss by increasing sodium content in the formula. A sodium comparison across packaged food categories found soup consistently among the higher sodium categories. Health guidelines recommend adults limit sodium to about 2,300 milligrams daily. A single bowl of regular canned soup can use up nearly a third of that daily limit. Regular high sodium intake is associated with elevated blood pressure and cardiovascular risk. Many cans list 2 or more servings, even though most people eat the entire can. Eating the full can, not just the labeled serving, can double the sodium actually consumed. Sensory researchers have tested how much sodium can be reduced without changing perceived taste. One study found sodium could be reduced by 18% without lowering overall taste ratings. This research suggests high sodium is frequently a formulation choice, not an unavoidable requirement. Some reduced sodium soups use potassium chloride as a partial substitute for regular salt. Potassium chloride can taste slightly bitter or metallic when used at higher substitution levels. Some research shows MSG can allow meaningful sodium reduction while preserving overall soup flavor. One study achieved over 30% sodium reduction in soup using this specific approach. Terms like reduced sodium and low sodium follow specific, different regulatory thresholds. Reduced sodium products must contain at least 25% less sodium than a reference version. Low sodium products must contain no more than 140 milligrams per serving. Reduced sodium does not automatically mean low sodium. The starting point matters significantly. A reduced sodium soup, starting from a very high baseline, can still carry substantial sodium. Comparing the actual milligram total, not just the claim, gives the clearest picture. People managing kidney conditions should check with a doctor before relying on potassium-substituted products. Homemade broth generally allows far more direct control over final sodium content. No salt-added varieties let you control seasoning directly rather than relying on a preset formula. Diluting a regular soup with extra water or vegetables can lower sodium density per bowl. Reduced sodium, low sodium, and no salt added each represent a distinct, checkable category. Most cans use an internal lining to prevent metal from directly contacting the food. Bisphenol A, known as BPA, was historically a common component of many can linings. Trace amounts of BPA can migrate from certain linings into canned food over time. Public health researchers have studied low-dose BPA exposure, particularly regarding hormone-related effects. Regulatory agencies, including the FDA, currently classify approved BPA use as safe within set limits. The majority of canned food from major manufacturers now uses non-BPA can linings. Checking packaging for a BPA-free claim helps identify these updated lining formulations. BPA-free labeling claims are not verified under one single, universal testing standard. Alternative lining compounds replacing BPA are themselves still undergoing ongoing safety research.
Transferring soup to a separate container before heating avoids any direct can lining concern.
Heating food directly inside a metal can is generally discouraged for practical safety reasons too. Acidic canned foods, like tomato-based soups, may show somewhat higher lining compound migration. Glass jars and shelf-stable cartons offer an alternative packaging format without metal can lining. These alternative formats are often priced somewhat higher than standard canned soup varieties. For most people, current canned soup remains classified as broadly safe by food regulators. Vegetables used in canned soup are often processed very quickly after harvest. Canning can preserve certain nutrients as well as, or better than, extended fresh storage. Canning tomatoes can actually increase the bioavailability of lycopene, a beneficial plant compound. Water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C are more vulnerable to loss during heat processing. Vegetable and bean-heavy soups generally provide more fiber than simple broth-based varieties. Checking whether whole vegetables or just vegetable flavoring appears reveals true vegetable content. Bean and lentil-based canned soups generally offer more protein and fiber per serving. Healthy choices. Cream-based soups typically carry more saturated fat than broth or tomato-based versions. Modified food starch is commonly used to thicken cream-based soups during processing. Comparing protein content across soup varieties helps identify which options are most filling. Most canned soups are relatively low in calories, making portion size less of a concern. Pairing canned soup with whole grain bread or a side salad creates a more balanced meal. Soup type varies enormously in nutritional value, from simple broth to hearty bean stew.
Comparing sodium and fiber together offers a clearer picture than either number alone. Understanding these patterns lets you choose canned soup intentionally, not just by convenience. Terms like homestyle and classic carry no regulated sodium or nutrition standard whatsoever. Hearty and chunky claims generally describe texture and ingredient size, not nutritional content. Health-sounding icons and imagery do not always reflect the actual sodium content underneath. Serving size print is often smaller than the flavor description printed above it. Flipping the can over remains the most reliable way to verify any front label claim. A natural label claim does not guarantee a short or simple ingredient list. Checking sodium alongside calories gives a more complete picture than calories by themselves. Comparing several brands side by side often reveals surprisingly large sodium differences. Some products labeled all natural still contain modified starch and substantial added sodium. Comfort food marketing language strongly shapes how healthy a soup appears, independent of sodium content. Check sodium content, check whole vegetable content, and consider adding fresh ingredients at home. Choosing low sodium or no salt added versions supports meaningfully lower daily sodium intake. Adding fresh or frozen vegetables while heating boosts fiber and nutrients at very little cost. Diluting a can slightly with extra water reduces sodium concentration per bowl consumed. Transferring soup to a separate bowl before heating avoids any direct can lining concern. Canned soup remains generally less expensive per serving than restaurant or takeout meals. A few extra seconds reading the label can meaningfully change what ends up in the bowl. Knowledge about ingredients is not about fear. It is about informed, confident choices. We started this video with a simple can from the pantry shelf. Behind every can of soup is a process built for shelf stability and consistent flavor. The evidence shows sodium content and can lining are the two details most worth checking. That understanding gives you a real choice, rather than just a convenient one. At Grocery Science, we examine food through evidence, not to generate fear. Coming up, what is really inside plant milk, rotisserie chicken, and microwave popcorn? Thank you for watching Grocery Science. Stay curious, stay informed.